the merchant ships, minutes after they took I.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Rich coming at you at the Power Lunch with Dr. Rich, Food for the Mind radio show, online show. I want to shout out to everyone out here who is listening, who is watching, who is out here trying to make a difference, following me. I really appreciate it. We are here on Monday, the 22nd of August in the state of Texas. The public schools have started to go back. The community colleges, Collin College has gone back today, and next week Dallas County Community College District will start. Again, my name is Dr. Rich. Welcome to the show. I thank you for logging on and seeing me. I don't know how many of you can see me now. I see the banner. I don't see me. How are you? If somebody can. Call in and talk to me at 504-65 on air. Again, 504-65 on air. Today, we are going to talk about some things that will probably get some people who want to know about. We're going to talk about some things that happened this weekend. We're going to talk about Donald Trump, the Republican candidate for president. We're going to talk about some statistics. We're going to talk about some school data. Oddly enough, DISD opened today for classes. I looked at some data on DISD, and I saw that 68% of the students in DISD schools are likely to drop out. This is what the Texas Education Agency has collected, the state of Texas, as opposed to 14 and 12% in Plano and Frisco, respectively. And there are a lot of different things out there that go into, schools and the quality of schools. But I found that number particularly alarming, that 68% of all of the students, I don't know if it was in the high schools or in the schools, period, 68% were likely to drop out of school. That hurt me. Now, hey, Monica, how are you? There's some things out here today that we saw this weekend with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump said a couple of things about African Americans, which, oddly enough, kind of true a little bit, but we want to get into it. We also want to get into the thing that I was talking to you guys about last week and the week before that and the week before that about writing a letter to your local politicians. But I think what we're going to do with this Donald Trump data is actually route it all the way back to the things that I was talking about 3 weeks ago. Oddly enough, someone who you can always learn something from anybody you come into contact with, and at this point we're going to actually look at some of the things that the Trumpster is actually talking to Black Americans or African Americans or however we want to be defined right now at this point. Now, people, we need to get into a situation where we look at facts and we look at data and we look at what's happening now and not how we got here. I speak to a lot of people. I ran into two young ladies at my local spot that I like to go to on Friday nights, and I will not mention the name because they don't sponsor me, and I'm not going to give them free advertising. But the people who know me know where I go on Friday nights, and some Friday nights. And I was talking, and the young lady asked me if I knew about another prominent African-American PhD who seemed to always talk about why we are in the situation we are in as a people, so to speak. And he talked about the years of poverty and the years of unfair politics and the years of unfair, unfair just unfair things that have happened to us as a race to get us to this point. Well, that's great. I get that part. I know why I'm here. And this is pretty much the same kind of point that I'm going to make with when we get to Trump. But I want you guys to glean the good things out of what Trump said so that you can have a better understanding going into the polls of who you vote for. If you vote for Trump, if you vote for Hillary, that's on you. But at least vote with the sense of understanding what the heck you're voting for, okay? Now, Donald Trump, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Stop. Sorry. Need a shout out to JC. That would be Jesus Christ. Shout out to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Without him, none of this would be possible. Without him, I wouldn't have the wherewithal to come to you guys. I wouldn't have this opportunity to do this, and I wouldn't be here today. Shout out to my buddies, Greg, Kenny, John, Gerald Ohaji, and my newest partner, Ken, Big Ken. This is big Ken, big 6'5" Ken, Marine, my new partner in crime, partner in my network, military brother, helping me understand some things from a different side of the table. He is on one side of the table right with me, but on the other side of the table being as a former brother in blue who helps me understand a couple of things. Now let's get started on this Trump stuff. Trump talked about African Americans, and he made a plea, so to speak, to African Americans to say, hey, you're living in poverty, you're living in poverty, your schools are poor, and 58% of your youth are unemployed. Well, living in poverty, yep, still. The unemployment rate, well, if we have to look at the unemployment rate the way it is, but we need to look at the unemployment rate for what he was talking about. He said African-American youth, and he's correct. Only 42% of those folks are actually youth, meaning people from ages 16 to 24 had jobs. But the way the data is he probably pulled that data from that number. But the way the data is stated, you had to be looking for a job to me, it's real stupid. You had to be looking for a job to be considered unemployed. I'm sorry. I thought unemployment meant without job. But hey, who am I? I'm not the government. The government says if you're looking for a job and you cannot find one, you are thereby unemployed. So the people who are not looking for a job, I guess they're semi-unemployed. I don't know what that is, but only 42% of blacks, 42.7 or 43%, so we'll say 57%, 43% of blacks aged 16 to 24 had a job in July. But that doesn't mean that they were necessarily unemployed. You have to be looking for a job, and you have to be inside the labor force to be considered unemployed. I think this is stupid. I think if you're 16 to 24 and you're not going to work every day, you're behind as unemployed. So let's just stick with that number. You have 58% of the 57.3% of African Americans who are age 16 to 24 who are unemployed. Why? I don't get that. A lot of people say, well, they're in school. Well, hell, I worked when I was in school. Age 16 to 24, I guess you graduate at 21 if you go to college, so you probably need a job between 21 and 24. I don't get it. But either way, the number is the number, and that's what he said. He also said, we live in poverty. Yep, you just open your eyes and look around. We're still in poverty. You can look at a lot of our numbers, and that's not speaking for all African Americans because, Donald Trump, all African Americans are not living in poverty, but there's a significant number of the 13% of us who are in the United States who live in poverty. That's just a fact. And the third thing, our schools are poor. Yep, he's right on that one. The African American schools, hell, I just told you about DISD. 68 they rated with 68% of their students likely to drop out of school. Something's wrong with that. But I look at a lot of things and I see a lot of things and I try to understand. So let's just take this thing apart. The things that he said, correct. But what I don't understand is why is it that he feels as though now he can take his turn at the African Americans and run at us and say, yep, they weren't doing good, so just you may as well try me. You don't have anything else to try. Well, actually, we do. African Americans have ourselves to try. And this is one of the things that I try to tell people. There is not a thing, okay, that Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton are going to be able to do for the state of African Americans if a couple of things. Look, you had the Emancipation Proclamation, all right? You had Jim Crow laws, which Jim Crow laws hurt us. You had the Emancipation Proclamation that, I guess that did something. You had all of these other things come up. You had, let me see, the March on Washington. You had the 1964 Civil Rights Act. You've had, hell, the Rodney King beatings. You have all of this stuff that you can see that happened in the African-American community. Here's the kicker. You ready? In 2008, we had a black man sitting in the White House. It did not get better. So I want you guys to understand that it does not, you cannot rely on the federal government on its own to help the plight of African Americans if you're sitting at home and electing the same crooks in office in your local elections and doing the same things for your local elections and not paying attention to, the things that are happening right here in your house. It's almost like a lot of folks, a lot of African Americans want to play in the Super Bowl, but they don't want to play the regular season games or even the preseason games. You've got to be able to vote in your local elections. You need to go to your school boards. You need to, hell, here's something. Attend your PTA meetings. That's Parent Teacher Association. That's not Teacher Association. That's Parent Teacher Association. So, Parent Teacher Association. So you have to have some active involvement. And a lot of people want to talk about, well, it depends on the president. No, stop. It doesn't depend on the president. What is Donald Trump going to do that Barack Obama couldn't do, that Bill Clinton couldn't do, that Bush couldn't do, all the way back to Lyndon B. Johnson, who happened to sign the Civil Rights Act in 1964, but he had a Republican Congress. Did you guys know that? Everybody talks about the Democrats, but it was the Republicans that pushed through the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Don't believe me? Go check it out. Yeah, that's what happened. Sorry. So get off this party line crap. Okay. Let's see. We have some comments. Robert in Plano said, the problem isn't black on black crime, it's poor on poor victimization. Poverty rate for non-whites and non-Asians is over 2 times higher, and also the unemployment rate is far higher as well and has been for quite some time. My name is Robert in Plano, by the way. Hi, Robert in Plano. Heed, is it fair to say that black schools are poor if politicians take funding and use it for other purposes they deem more important? All right. Well, first of all, Robert in Plano, you're right. I guess it is poor on poor. It's the haves versus the have-nots. I get that part. I'm talking about what the African Americans are going through and the answers that they're looking for from these politicians when they put these politicians in office at the federal level, not so much at the local level. This is one of the things that we looked at. Thank you for, I don't know who I see Heed. I see you. Thank you for commenting. Is it fair to say black schools are poor if politicians take fund? Yep, it's still fair to say that because it doesn't matter. Poor means you don't have the money. So whether you put the crook, this is what I'm talking about. If you put the crook in office that stole your money, who's the fool? You or the politician? I think it's you if you actually put that politician in office over and over and over again. If a politician has a federal indictment against them and you decide, no, they just playing and put that person in office again, then you get what you get. If you steal from me one time, you're going to steal from me again if I let you in my house. I'm just not going to let you in my house. There's so many other people out there to do this. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not black. It does have more. It does have to do with color, but it doesn't have to only do with color. A lot of people talk about it. Just, you're right. It's the haves and have-nots. People don't have money. But you look at this situation, And there's a lot of money in the African American community. You don't believe me? Turn on your TV. Turn on ESPN. There's money there. Drake, every other rapper that's out there, Michael Jordan, who did contribute $2 million to both sides, the police and the NAACP, Oprah Winfrey, all of these black stars. There's a lot of money out there that can be funneled in to help people. But I'm going to tell you something about people. No one's going to help you unless you want to help yourself. So it doesn't matter if Donald Trump, hell, if I'm sitting in office, which I think I'm going to write my name in. I told myself for 2016 election, I'm going to write my name in. Dr. Preston B. Rich, President, United States Air Force, United States of America on the ballot. If you want to call me, call in at live at 504-65 on air. 504-65 on air. Now, when we look at these things, oh, wait, we just have some more. Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing, Jedi? People are actually calling in. I mean, not calling in, but chatting in, live chat. Robin in Plano says, people in poverty are largely the same across racial lines. It's just that there's a far higher rate of black people living in poverty and hence more likely to resort to violence or become the victim of violence. The violence isn't tied to who or what they are. It's tied to the circumstances they're living in. Robert, I get you. I hear you, but I have a problem with one of these lines. There's a far higher rate of black people living in poverty and hence more likely to resort to violence or become the victim of violence. Then you're going to tell me that poverty causes violence. I can't give you that. If you don't have some data to back that up, I can't rock with that. That's what it looks like. But you just told me that it really didn't matter whether it was all across these lines, but in the black community, that means if you're poor, you're going to commit a crime or be a victim of a crime. You can't have it both ways. It's either nothing. There's nothing that goes across poverty lines and the have or have-nots, or the have or have-nots, if they happen to be black, will have poverty. 81,000. Thank you. I appreciate you actually getting on. Thank you so much, 80. But we can't sit here and look at that. This is one of the things that we talk about. Hell, I know why half of us are there. You know, one guy, I put something on Facebook when I talked about Ryan Lochte and his whole thing about he lied. He said he lied, he screwed up. And the first thing somebody hit me with is, if he were black, he would have been called a thug. Well, he's not black. No black athletes were called thugs because they didn't do anything as stupid as Ryan Lochte and his buddies did. But Ryan Lochte did something stupid. He apologized for it. Let's move on. Now, moving on means he probably still needs to pay for filing a false police report. Yeah, he probably does that. But at what point is sorry not enough? And the first thing people came to me with is, well, yes, Robert in Plano, I want facts, sir. And I'm not trying to be confrontational at all, sir. All I'm saying is, unless I read it wrong, and if I read it wrong, fix me. Okay? What I read was high rates of poverty in black neighborhoods cause crime. I think high rates of poverty in any place cause crime. Okay, crime is, you can say, is a subset of conflict, and for conflict you have to have a perception of power and a scarcity of resources. So if you don't have something, you go out and get it. But why is it that because you're poor, you automatically get pegged with you're going to commit a crime or be a victim of crime? I don't know. I don't get that, because I didn't have everything I wanted, and I didn't go and bust nobody upside the head to go get it either. So I don't want that. So Robert gave me facts. Okay, let's go. For the period, persons in poor households of federal poverty had more than double the rate of violent victimization as person in high-income households. I get that point. I get that. Can I tell you this? This is not causation. You got to understand, correlation does not mean causation. Okay, I get you. I get what you're telling me. What you're telling me is there is a significant relationship between the rate of poverty and the rate of crime. Robert, you get an A for that. You get a star for that. I'm with you on that. All right? Here's the deal. That doesn't mean that that's what particularly caused it. Because in statistics, correlation does not mean causation. You see what I mean? You can't do that unless you have an experimental scientific research. You know, if you're just doing correlation, you're just saying, yep, there is a relationship. And I get with this. This poor urban blacks, 51% had high rates of violence similar to poor urban whites. 51% per thousand, and 56 per poor urban whites, 56.4%. Robert, 51 and 53, I get that. What you're telling me is crime is high in poor neighborhoods. Get that point. What I'm trying to get you to understand is being poor does not mean you go and you go and commit a crime. That's not what that means. This is what I'm trying to get people to understand. Just because you're poor does not mean go bust this guy upside the head and go and get what he has that he worked for. Why don't you do this? Go to work. And a lot of people say, well, it's not that easy. Oh, it's that easy. But here's what we get. Robert in Plano. Hey, man, you are actually contributing today. Thank you, Robert. Throw in the prison industrial complex, the school to prison pipeline of racism on top of poverty. It makes it worse. So many blacks are exposed to this injustice. All right. So let me, Robert, thank you for the facts. These are facts. I don't know where you got these from. I get, but hey, for anybody else, if you give me facts, make sure you give me a source where these facts came from, because I want to check to see if they're valid and reliable. And Robert, I'm not calling you stupid because I don't know you. I wouldn't call you stupid anyway if I did know you. But these are some great facts, and I'm glad you're actually coming with the facts. Thank you so much, man. I want you to come to me with, yep, this has happened, and I've been black all my life. So I get this. I understand that. What is it that we can do to, number one, change this poverty-crime correlation? Because it's not a causation. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. BJ, yep. Thank you so much. That's valid. That's reliable. Robert's facts, if anybody's out there on the chat line, Robert's facts are reliable and valid. So his facts are correct. Now that we know these facts, I'm here to try to go for a solution. What is it that we can do besides saying, see, that's the reason that is? And I still am not agreeing with you that poverty causes crime. Not saying that. I say that crime is in poor neighborhoods, but hell, there's crime in rich neighborhoods too. But then again, some people will say, well, that crime is caused by people who are poor, who come into rich neighborhoods and yeah. Guess what? Rich kids do just as much stupid stuff as poor kids. Okay, it's all about values and home. Where in the hell do they come from? So let me explain to this, Robert. If you're gonna go and get some stats, let's go get some stats of the rich neighborhoods who have crime rates. Let's go into, affluent neighborhoods. So if Robert, go get me some stats on the affluent neighborhoods and the crime rates in the affluent neighborhoods, and I just want to see. Now, here's what's funny. What we have is an affluent kid who kills 4 people in the state of Texas, but he never goes to prison for that. He gets probation. Now, why is that? I don't know. Maybe, in my imaginative mind, maybe the fact that he was affluent made him not understand the world. As a matter of fact, that's what the prosecution came up with and the defense and the judge. He had affluenza. What? So that means because of the fact that he was rich and did not understand that he wasn't supposed to be drinking underage and driving drunk and killed some people, because he was affluent, he didn't know he was supposed to do that? That's some bull farganarkle, okay? That's crazy. But did it happen? Yep. And what happened? What also happened? He went to Mexico and his little behind got caught, didn't he? Yeah. Eventually it'll catch up with you if you do something wrong. But I want to get back to before you do that. if we keep looking at these statistics, why do you think these statistics are out there just readily available for us? Because the people who look for a reason to say, this is why I committed a crime, this is why I'm in jail, this is why I'm this is why I'm that. No, the reason why you're the way you are is because of you. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. Nobody told you to go and rob that damn liquor store. Nobody told you to go and box that guy upside the head. Nobody told you to carjack. Nobody told you to do that just because you're poor. I refuse to believe that. Hell, we didn't grow up with everything that we had in the world either. There has been a lot of lean days on 5571 Bayberry Drive in Poplar Halls in Norfolk, Virginia. Shout out to Poplar Halls. That doesn't give me. I don't vibe with that. Just because you're black and poor doesn't mean you got to go and illegally obtain a gun and shoot somebody and say, "Well, see, I was poor and what had happened was." That's bullshit. This is the stuff that we need to stop doing. Stop looking for excuses to commit a damn crime. Here's what we could do. Here's a concept. Go to school, finish school, get a job, hire another kid who's in a poor neighborhood, teach that kid, let that kid do the same thing and replicate. Frank Walton. Totally agreed. I will say, though, that the link between class and race, the systematic and institutional factors that have demographically kept a disproportionate number of black people in poor neighborhoods and more likely to be in lower socioeconomic strata generally lead to a loop in perception here. Though, of course, reality doesn't work that way. Frank Walton, thank you for your input. A-Rob, we have many causes, which do include growing up with violence being all around. The challenge is to break the cycle, which isn't as easy as lessening poverty, which should be done for its own sake. Rob, let's go with that. I'm with you. I am so with you on that. What was the first guy's name? Robert. Hey, Robert in Plano. Hey, man, I'm going to make you my honorary. I'm sorry, I can't pay you. I'm going to make you my honorary statistician, man. We're going to work together on this. Can you get me some affluent neighborhood crime rates, man? If you can get me that, I can pull it up. Rob, breaking the cycle. Yes, this is what we get into. We get into a situation. I used to date a young lady who used to say that when you start complaining to people, it sounds like this. And she's correct. When you start complaining over and over and over and over and over again, we're tired of hearing that. We're so tired of hearing, well, we're poor, we're this, woe is us, nobody knows. Yeah, somebody knows. We know, and that's enough of us to know. Lessening poverty. Man, you're not going to lessen poverty until you increase values, until you start putting the fathers back in the homes, until you stop having the mothers and the fathers fight each other about the damn children, until you start saying we're going to put some constraints on child support. We're going to make these dads more responsible, and other than giving a check, they need to actually spend some time. You know, the problem is the black family has fallen apart. Black marriage has gone out the window. Black divorce has gone up. Black children who don't go to school has gone up. And the mothers who are single, who are raising these boys, can't be home to watch them because they got to leave to go to go to work themselves at 6 a.m. And the little boy, the 13-year-old boy, has to be called by his mom on her break to tell him to get his behind up, wash his butt, go get something to eat, and go to school. He's disenfranchised because he feels like he's missing out because he's poor. Let me tell you something, poor. I've been poor before, okay? Broke poor. All right? I don't want this whole thing. We got to stop this cycle of constantly complaining. What can we do? I mentor several people. And I tell my mentees some things that they don't like to hear. So one of my mentees, he just walked out. He got so mad with me, he just shut up and just walked away, got in his vehicle, and I didn't hear from him for like 4 days straight. You know, I think he had to have a drink or something on the plane before he actually texted me back. But he said, you know, I got love for you, Dr. Rich. I don't like your smart-ass mouth sometimes, but I got love for you, Dr. Rich, and those are the things that we have to be willing to do. I have to be willing to actually get through all of the bull crap and all the barriers and walls that young black men put up so that I can get through to them and say, hey, brother, I love you. Hey, brother, this is the way to get along in the United States. Now, the United States is going to look at your pedigree. I don't care what you do. They're going to look at your pedigree, and they're going to look at your bank account. Your pedigree, your bank account. They're going to look at your work ethic, too, because work ethic and pedigree and bank account, all of that is related together. Vian. I hope I said your name right. The financial pundits always harp on the best social program being a job, but for a variety of factors, households of color have been disproportionately public sector employees. Even in the best of times, the private sector has lagged behind the public sector in hiring and promoting employees of color. Thus, a significant factor in minority poverty is the disinvestment in the public sector spending by extension employment. Thank you, Vian. Let's talk about that. The best social program being a job. You can argue with that all day, but that's what it is. It is easier for us as a people to get a job and provide for ourselves than going on a social program asking for somebody to help us. See, here's the whole deal. You can't go off and get angry because we're unemployed when you allow your little badass son to sit in the house and not get a job. I'm sorry. That's just how that works. Well, he can't go to school because he can't get a job because he go to school. Yes, he can. I did. I've been working since I was 14 years old. Yep, 1-4. I went out. I got my dad. My dad used to be a janitor. I went out and got his old squeegee and his old windshield wiping stuff, windshield washing tools, and I went off and asked somebody, can I wash your windows for some money? They said, yes, you can. And the rest is history. I've been working ever since. And the thing was, I left from there at 14. At 16, I went and got a paper route and a job at Kmart around the corner. And one day this is the thing that kept my work ethic at a high rate. Let me tell you this. I came home one day from school, and I was on the schedule to go to work at Kmart in Poplar Halls in Norfolk, Virginia. Shout out to Poplar Halls in Norfolk, Virginia. I was there. Shout out actually to Earl in DC Fire. How you doing, Earl? I'm gonna call you when the show is over because you had some damn good points about the crime rates and things of that nature. I'm with you, brother. I agree with you on some things, but I don't on some others. I appreciate you, but I love you, brother. I love you. Here's the thing. I came home. My dad I was about to go to work, but I felt like I don't feel like going to work today. So my dad was on the couch. He had just come from work, and he was taking off his steel-toe boots. My dad was a longshoreman at Local 1248 in Norfolk, Virginia. And Dad was like, hey, Preston. He said, are you going to work today? I said, nope, I don't feel like it. He said, well, are you sick? I said, nope, I just don't feel like going. He said, are you on the schedule? I said, yes, I'm on the schedule, but I don't think I'm going in today. I was fully dressed for work now. But I was sitting on the steps saying I didn't feel like going, and I'm probably going to go ahead and call in. Approximately 8 minutes if you count the time that I was just sitting there in awe looking at my dad because I kind of lost some time right there. My dad came to me, picked me up. I swear to you, I swear this is a true story. He picked me up by my neck, by the back of my neck, and the back of my pants. And my mother, she was in cahoots, opened the door and the screen door. And my father threw me. I was 16 years old. Hurled me out of the door like a shot put and said, you better go to work and your behind better be there when I get there. And I said, oh my, I'm in some trouble. And it was that right there that told me, you need to get your behind to work and you need to work. And my father always told me, men need to work. Boys need to work. Males need to work. You've got to go to work. And this is the thing that's missing in the United States right now with African-American boys. They feel as though I'm going to pursue my music. I don't have a problem with you pursuing your music, my friend, but you need to get a job. If you're not going to get a job, you need to be in the military. If you're not in the military, you need to be picking up a trade. If you're not picking up a trade, you need to be in school. You have to be doing something to contribute positively to the economy that you ask so much of. This is one of the things that I do not understand with African-American males, or hell, any males. When we look at it, we have these little soft millennial males out here who don't know how to change a tire, who don't know how to do anything, but they do know how to take a selfie and look pretty. I had a kid in my classroom. The entire time he was in my class, he was taking selfies. If you're a grown man and you have a phone and you know how to take selfies better than your girlfriend, you need to talk to me. You need to come talk to me, because I'm gonna make you walk through the Home Depot, and I'm gonna get you there. I'm gonna go to the paint aisle, the electricity aisle. I'm gonna go to the plumbing aisle. I'm gonna go over to the lumber, and I'm gonna tell you that this is a tool and this is what you do with it. Then we can go to the garden area and do something like that. Let's see, camphor. Hey guys, I am just reading here what I have. Camphor. Putting aside genetic dispositions for now, people construct their identities first based on what they are not. Oh, so a black looks at how whites act and is attracted towards adopting the opposite attitudes as a way of defining his identity as black. Once many individuals share these same attitudes, they become culture and are amplified even more. No amount of education or poverty reduction can reverse this trend, since it misses the underlying drivers. Higher IQ individuals can escape their own culture and create their own identities, but these are exceptions, not the rule. If the above is true, then diversity is doomed to failure and politics are destined to balkanization. Let's think of that. I think what you just told me is some blacks look at whites and try to make themselves like whites as opposed to make sure you got to help me. Jedi, work with me on this one. Hey man, Camp Fur, I know I have a doctorate, but break it down for me, man. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make a mockery of you or anything. I swear to you. But you said a lot here, but break it down. Can you give me some bullet points on that? Are you saying that blacks look at whites, try to be white, and decide not to be black, or vice versa, or what have you? Because as far as culture goes, everybody seems to pick up a lot of the things from the African-American culture. I was just looking at the Little League World Series, and I saw these two little boys in the stands, two little white kids in the stands doing the dab. That crazy dance that the kids do, they do that. Yeah, that's just one of those things. I saw them doing that, and I'm like, wow, man, that's the African-American culture just going everywhere. But, what are we going to do to move past this? How do we do that? And you said there's not enough. Okay, you were in prison for a decade, and it's what you saw. Okay. Hey, man, I never said that you were wrong. I just said I didn't understand what you were saying, okay? So let's first of all get that straight. I wasn't telling you were wrong, okay? I was just saying that, hey, I don't know what you're telling me. So break it down for me. Give me some bullet points, man. I think I got the one about the African Americans, but I do believe you that higher IQ individuals can escape anything, create their own identities, but these are exceptions, not the rule. But why does that have to be the exception? You said something there, higher IQ individuals, and then right before that you said no amount of education or poverty reduction can reverse this trend since it misses the underlying drivers. And then you hit me again with higher IQ individuals. So I'm assuming I'm going to make the assumption that higher education means higher IQ. Now, education, I don't mean formal education. I mean education from anywhere, okay? Higher IQ means higher education, so that has to be it. No amount of education. I disagree with you. That's not true. The more that you enhance your mind, the more you'll be able to do. The more you learn how to do. The more you are double-seated. The more you know is the better you'll do. That's just how it goes. You do have some pretty stupid people who have a whole lot of money, okay? They are the exception, not the rule. But the rule is higher education means better results. Higher education, however you get it. Go in the military, go to a trade school, go to a formal education, learn something from your pawpaw. And that's the part right there that I don't think our boys are getting. You need to learn something from your granddad or your uncle or your play cousin or somebody, or grab a Dr. Rich and ask, hey, man, how do I do this thing? Because it's hard to navigate. But what we can't do is keep telling people we're poor and woe is me. That's out. I am so tired of that. What do we do to move forward? What we need to do to move forward is to come up with something to where we start being responsible for our own and stop being pissed off that that other people police our youth better than and harsher than we do. If you're going to be upset that Officer Wanowski roughed up Pookie and Ray Ray, if Pookie and Ray Ray were in your neighborhood, that's your fault because you are your brother's keeper. I don't want to hear anything about that. You can't tell no one out here can tell me anything about being black, and you damn sure can't tell me about anything about being a black male. You are your brother's keeper. Now, if you grab the next male and grab the next male and grab the next male, we will start strengthening ourselves as a culture. Because if you look at every other culture, you'll see that the pecking order is there. Christ, man, woman. Christ, man, woman. The Asians do it. The Hispanics do it. The Jews do it. Everyone does it. Not us. You look at it and you'll see there's a high proportion of the African-American females running the culture and are actually setting the tone for the culture. I'm not saying anything is wrong with black women's empowerment. I'm not saying that at all, okay? I'm not saying that at all, okay? What I am saying is there is a position for the black male, and it needs to be stated, and it needs to be taken. In our culture, the black male needs to lead the black female and the black children, and we need to get together and set that tone going forward. That is the only way, getting our families back together, getting ourselves back centered in Christ or whoever you want to worship, and having taken an active responsibility for these children, because these kids are out there running around with no direction, and they got to figure it out on their own. And that's wrong. Children are a gift from God, Psalm 127:3. Children are a gift from God, okay? Is it 127:3 or 127:1? I had to work that out. 127:3, I think. Children are a gift from God. Can somebody look that up, please? Children are a gift from God, and you have the responsibility. If God gifts you with a child, you have to have that responsibility to raise that child, and you are supposed to do that. And I don't care what you have. You have a problem with your baby mama or your baby daddy, and the first thing you want to say is, "You just like your daddy. You're just like your mama. You're just like." They don't need to hear all that. They weren't there when you made them. Okay, you were ooh baby when you made that child. So now that you have that child, and you need to lead that child, you owe that child until that child is 18. I'm sorry, dads, you can't just send in a check. I know a brother of mine that moved from Atlanta to Dallas to be with his son when his son was 12 years old, just to be in the area of his son, to cooperate with his ex-wife to raise this kid. And it's constant discourse between the mother, the child, and the father. The mother is telling the child something because the child lives with the mother. This is a son. And the mother is telling the son, your dad isn't this, your dad isn't that, and then the son goes against the dad. Women, I'm here to tell you, get out of that conversation. The conversation between the fathers and the sons doesn't need any moderation, mediation, interruption, or anything else from you. Okay? I'm here to tell you, those are conversations that need to be had between father and son, and you need to stay out of that. Okay? I'm sorry to tell you, but you got to stay out of that. All right? Europe awake. Do they consider, let me see, I think he said, do you consider the effect of lower intelligence? It seems to me, this is a Europe awake, it seems to me that black people with their lower average IQ, oh, hell. Boy, okay. It seems to me that black people with their lower average IQ, and I stress average, not everyone, some are obviously highly intelligent and capable, and in the UK, the people from Pakistan brought in 2 generations ago from farming folk to work in the cotton mills, who are now so not likely to include intellectually gifted people, then observe white people with decent jobs, earning good money and doing well. The only reason that they can think for their own inability to achieve is racism, quote unquote, and some of the slightly more intelligent leaders with the gift of oratory will say that and it will be believed, so they turn to violence, crime, drug dealing as the only route to money. Just a thought. First of all, son, or Europe awake, I don't know who you are, Please do not assume that blacks have lower average IQs. Please stop that. Okay, that's not true. I'm not with you. Yeah, we don't want to get into that because, the way they measure IQ is totally different. Take case in point. You have a young black girl from the inner city schools. You have a young white girl from a suburb. You ask a question to both girls. If I take a rock, if you see these 5 birds on the wire, and I take a rock and I knock one of the birds off, how many birds do you have left? The young white girl from the suburbs said 4. The young black girl from the inner city said none, because when you hit the first one, all the rest of them are going to fly away. Now, who the hell's smarter? The white girl from the suburbs or the black girl from the inner city? No, they're the same. It's just your level of learning is different. Your mode of understanding is different. And when you try to take people who have never had any kind of formal education, formal structure, stability, and try to put them in a stable environment and say, this is how you're supposed to learn, well, hell, no wonder nobody's learning. If you tell them that they're wrong to do music and dance, if you tell them that they're wrong to do arts, if you tell them they're wrong to do history, and you force them into this education system that says, thou must take a test to say that you're smart, this is what you're going to get. So I don't agree with you that black people have a lower IQ. I'm not with that. I'm not with that, because I can show you, I can tell you now some people, I'm not one of them. My son's not one of them, and he's 5. So not to say anything is wrong with let me see. Anon 6187, does that mean anonymous? Yeah. Okay. Can we begin to encourage young black men to work for themselves like you did, Washington, rather than get a job? I've been working myself since 16 while in high school, and I wish that I would have started working for myself when I was younger. Not to say anything is wrong with getting a job, but I believe we also need to begin creating jobs for ourselves within our community. I totally agree. Job. I had a job that I started for myself, and then I went and worked for Kmart. So I had a paper route. So at this point, Anon, I don't at this point with the young boys age 16 to 24, I don't really care what they're doing, whether they're working for themselves or working for Dickies or working for Wendy's, or I don't care what they're doing. As long as they're going to work, being paid for something, I don't care what they commit to. As long as they contribute positively to society in a job that is legal, moral, and ethical, I'm with that. Okay, because hey, we all need to get to a point of entrepreneurship as a nation, as a culture, but we've got to start somewhere. So I don't want you guys to say, I'm glad you came back with saying that jobs are important, that's nothing wrong with getting a job, because there's nothing wrong with that. I just want them to go get a job. Just go go do something besides sit and play PlayStation. And the mothers who let your sons do that, shame on you. Shame on you. No, I've had women tell me, well, you can't tell me how to raise my son. And I tell them, you can't tell me how to raise a man, because you've never been one. So you don't know anything about what's going to go on with them. So here's the deal. We talked about all of this stuff that we talked about today. No one called in, but you did hit me on the chitter, whatever we want to call this thing here on Air Live. This is a great operation. WatchOnAirLive.com. Calling in live at 504-65 on air. Hey Shahid. Hey, shout out to Shahid, one of my guys. I love this cat. He's one of the guys who's out there, and he's much love to him. He supported me. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Europe Awake. Oh my. All right, this is the last one we're gonna take because I got to get out of here. If poverty really was the root cause of racial crime disparities, then stop. I've already told you guys that that's not the cause. Okay, so I do know a correlation, but I'll read it anyway, okay? Then we would expect white populations with incomes lesser than or similar to African Americans to have higher or similar crime rates to African Americans. Stop. Robin and Plano already said that. You are correct. 51% versus 56%, same, right? Okay, on a global scale, the comparison is easy to make. According to the census, the average African American makes $20,458 a year. According to the International Monetary Fund, the average income for European is $25,434. Europeans are slightly richer than African Americans, Given this, poverty is the main cause of racial crime. Given this, if poverty is the main cause of racial crime disparities, we should expect Europe to have similar crime rates to African Americans. Okay, firstly, I'm with you. I don't know if you were listening at the time, but I was basically making the point that correlation does not mean causation. So just because it's related to something doesn't mean that it causes it. Okay, so I'm with you on that. As far as Europeans and Americans and African Americans. If I could tell you about the path that African Americans have taken, there's a lot of Africans living in Europe too. When they first came around, which is why my whole deal for Redemption Song was my lead-in song. Old pirates, yes, they rob I. So stole I from the merchant ships. And it was the same kind of deal. This is what I was talking about. This was the thing. So. No, we can't expect Europeans to have the same thing. So the causation kind of thing, that's out of there. Your argument, you are correct on that. I don't expect Europe. Yeah, I don't think that being poor causes poverty. I mean, being poor problems. Being poor causes crime because it doesn't. It's just an after effect of that. So how can we do that, guys? I'm calling out to the men now. Men. Go find another African-American male and mentor that male. Help them do something. Help them get into school. Help them get back into school. Help them take care of their kids. Find some way to get them gainfully employed. If you can just get one African-American male a job post, a job lead, a job something. We need to get to the point where we take care of our jobs, our women, our families, our children, and our education, and mostly ourselves. So, I'm going to be back next week, and I'm going to talk about this thing. It seems that this lights a fire for most of my listeners. Hey, I've been looking at the stats. My listeners, yeah, do you realize the stats are a set of skewed data patterns used to prove a point, right? Do you know that statistics hasn't changed since it was invented? Don't tell me anything about skewness and this, that, and the other. I'm a doctor, dude. That's all I do is science, okay? So I understand. Yes, I do understand. Do you understand about bias? There are certain things that they have to do to get skewness out. So when we look at statistics, I'm actually glad you brought that up. When you look at statistics, you do have to actually look at the source of those statistics to find out, the methodology that they actually came up with them. So Anon, yeah, you're right, but at the same time, it's not always that way. It's not always that way. We have to be more trusting of what's there, and we actually have to look at the stats that we have. The African-American community is in some trouble, and but we also have so many things going for us that this is the perfect opportunity to be a minority. I don't care, African-American, Indian, Hispanic, I don't care. This is a perfect time to be a minority in the United States of America. Okay? So look here, people. I'm going to come back to you guys next week, 12:30. We're not having a show on Labor Day. This is Dr. Rich. If you need to get in touch with me, you can hit me on Twitter at DOCRICH1. You can hit me at my website at www.drprestonrich.com. You can hit me on Facebook, Professor Preston Rich. Professor Preston Rich. You can hit me on LinkedIn/n/Preston Rich. Hey, folks, you got to understand, in order for us to move forward in this generation, like Bob Marley said in Redemption Song, just read the first paragraph, just read the first chorus or what stanza, or I don't know the music terminology, but listen to the first part of that. Okay, you have to, we have to move forward in this generation triumphantly. So we have to figure out a way to move forward and stop complaining about what happened. The happening is on us right now. We need to do something to move forward, and I think we do that by attacking the problems that are happening with our young black males. So, folks, I'll see you next week. Remember, I love you, and most of all, God loves you. Peace.
Old pirates, yes, they rob I. Sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from